Hi folks, how are you? So this is in many ways the most obvious video to do after the last one. The last one asked the question, can someone of background bear good fruit? No. So the obvious follow-up to that is, how do you know in the current situation of churches and the way they're doing things, how do you know whether you are of bad fruit or not? Well, the most generous answer and most obvious answer is we should all assume that to a certain degree we are. We are therefore, as in bad fruit, bad ground, because of any of us developing or producing the fruit that we were called to produce. And I think certainly the high majority, the answer is no. So, yeah, we've all got work to do. However, if you're looking to identify those that are good ground and bad, well, yeah, can't do it. Can't be done for a number of reasons. One, because right now, I think it is very much the case, there are a lot of people in churches who are of good ground, but have been, you could say, infected or suffocated by church. So therefore, they're not really functioning anywhere near where they could if they were in a better church. Or if they were in connection with God, but they're not. They're in churches that don't really care about relationship with God and don't really care about God or going to God. So therefore, there are people who are of good ground who are not walking according to that. That is true. So, I think in most churches, people assume, the majority of people in churches assume that they're of good ground. Therefore, it would be right to say that probably around about 85% of people in church are massively deluded about their situation. Well, because around about 85% of people in church are of bad ground and will produce no good fruit whatsoever. And if you had churches that were doing things according to God, most of those people, of that 85%, probably at least 90% of those would leave the church very, very quickly. Well, they wouldn't have to necessarily. Because the point of it is, as I've said before, I think it is very, very much the case that there are a lot of churches that have nobody at all in that church of good ground that would ever bear any good fruit. So therefore, there would be nobody in that church doing things according to God. So therefore, there's no reason for the people who are of bad ground to ever leave. And so therefore they won't. And, I don't know, I think there's a quite high percentage of churches that are in that situation where there is nobody at all of God in those churches. Is that good or bad? I don't know. And again, the problem is that when you count that the worldly accepted view of those that are Christian includes C of E, Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, United Reformed, Evangelical, Pentecostal, and other charismatic. So that's basically 7 types of church. 7 types of theology and ways of doing it. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say in C of E, I think the majority are not. In Catholic, I'd say there's even fewer. Well, because the way the Catholic belief is formed, it's not exactly a belief that's going to be one that those of God that are going to land into, really. But as I say, this is where we can't tell. I can't say. There could very well be more people from the Catholic Church that of God than in charismatic churches. No. Especially, actually, when you think about it, the way the Catholic Church has had a lot of crap in recent history, the last 30, 40 years. So it's quite possible that a lot of the people that were churchy left. And the people that were more serious about God, a lot of them stayed. So therefore, there would be a higher population of people who are of God in that church than there was previously. Now, so, as I say, this is why you don't know. Because what God is doing in these different places, unless you are absolutely in it, you won't necessarily know. And there's a lot that we don't see right now. What we do know is that those people that are of God, well, they will be called out at some point. We know that. Because Yeshua said that the chaff is left in with the wheat until they're grown. And then they're separated. Well, the separation hasn't happened yet. So we know, according to the Word of God, there will be a separation of those in church. Yeah, because we know that the devil put chaff into the wheat, mixed chaff into it. And that won't be taken away until then. So when that happens, we will see. We will see. But it's going to be very interesting. It is. But expect, absolutely and totally, that when things start happening, where we have this new understanding of God, a lot of the old churches will still be there, continuing as they were. Even with the 666 mark on them, they will still continue as they were, believing that God's going to bring some form of revival to get more right with God. They'll still be believing that, even with the 666. Yeah. Okay, enjoy.